Alright, I'm now on to the paper part of my trip planning video. This is the Passport America book that we generally start with. I like the highlighter. I don't know if my husband is so attached to it. My favorite pen, a pencil with a good eraser, and a pack of sticky notes. The sticky notes would be used at the very start. In fact, this book has our current journey in it. And I won't take these stickies out until we're done with our journey, in case we have to look anything up very fast. So when my husband went through on the long journey from Washington State down to the Keys, he started along, and I can go here to this section, this is Alabama, and see that he picked Walnut Creek RV Park for, and then he puts the price, $15. So then somewhere on this spread is going to be Walnut Creek. Here is Walnut Creek. Unfortunately, it gives this little tiny map, and if you want to know where Walnut Creek is on the big state map, you have to refer back to it. It is number 13 by this round number 13. And if I go back to Alabama, the full state spread, I looked somewhere on here for 13, and there's 13. So he had something in mind and was looking for the bullets in the certain proximity of where he's trying to go. And he chose 13. He could have just as well maybe picked 12 if he was trying to stay up higher, or even down here in these numbers if he's trying to go south more. So he picked Walnut Creek. And Walnut Creek has some interesting information. I like the notes. The N is the most important section. I never look at these directions because I'm going to use my phone's Google Maps directions to get there. And someday, when I ever justify a GPS, I will use that instead. So I always put the phone number. I check out the website, but I don't usually type this whole thing in. I just type Walnut Creek and then let it find it. And then the PA price is, of course, part of what we're looking at. You can see that the range here is right around the $15 range on this whole page. And that's where I said that my guesstimate of the overall average of what we're going to pay for Passport America memberships is generally around $15. Sometimes less, sometimes more. So 15 is a great middle of the road. So there you go. Now, the notes. Drive-ups welcome. Reservations suggested. Discount, PA discount not valid during hurricanes and special events. I think pretty much all of them will not accept PA during special events. But other things to note would be things like if there's an extra fee for electric, if there's days of the week that are not allowed, a lot of them are Monday through Thursday only. If you can go for more than one night, it usually is noted here that you can, here in fact, let's look at Johnny's RV Resort. PA discounts valid for 1 week, which means I can stay for up to a week at the half-price rack rate here of $17.50 versus their retail rate of $35. So that's a pretty good deal. So I like to know for those places. The other thing I look at in the information on the top is how many sites. If, some of them will say 20 total sites. I get a little nervous if it's only 20, but a place that has 150 or 200, like up here has 16 sites, those are ones you want to actually talk to and make sure that you're not going to arrive and be turned away at the door because they're booked. So that's what I use this book for. Now I'm going to show you my printouts. I already showed you the electronic versions of these, so most of this will just look familiar. When I do my accurate end-to-end, and I have more than 10 steps along the way, I will take my map and I will break it up. In this case, I did look at my points. I did Mount Vernon to Little Diamond, and I even skipped that I stayed in Leavenworth, but I did stay in Leavenworth. Then I stayed at this, I'm going to stay at this Health Mine campground, and then this other campground. The second is from that last campground all the way down to South Florida. But those are the steps along the way, and there were too many to fit in, so then I have my steps on the Keys. Then what I'm interested in is I want the overall miles and the minute, the hour or time traveled, which is always in the upper right corner that gets printed out. So for my trek, It's 4,351 miles and 71 hours of driving. So that's our whole journey. I use that mostly for my blogging. It's also interesting to know before we start. So now I have all of those individual end to end, just one hop. And then I start writing notes along the one hops. In this case, I'm staying on 927 in spot number 35. And no check-in time specified. I have, based on the overall time to travel, which is over 6 hours, I go ahead and note when I think we should leave. I wrote a lot of notes on here. One of the things I noticed was they had good Wi-Fi, because in this case, I actually looked up the reviews, and that jumps out at me. I want to know if we're going to have good Wi-Fi possibilities, because I'm not sure our cellular data plan will be usable in these places. So we have no check-in time specified. It's another 6.5 hour journey, and I have us departing at 8, getting in around 2:30. So this is what all of these little notes are for. If, let's say, I'm going to go to one that has an actual formal reservation. The formal reservation is this last sheet I printed out and have a hard copy, so that when I go to check in, I don't have to worry about the fact that it might be electronic and I have to prove to them that I have a reservation because there's something mixed up. So this is for that day's traveling information. If for some reason I changed from a location that was picked earlier, in this case, this place, I could not get through. I left a message, never heard anything back, had a second number to call. The message that was left is, you have reached this mailbox for phone number such and such. It didn't even say the company's name. So I decided I wasn't comfortable staying here, so I went ahead and made an alternate plan. I put phone numbers. In some cases, I showed you where I type the information up above. And in the case where I did get a chance to type it up above, then I don't write those extra notes down below. In this case, my husband had printed this out, and this ended up being a place where we stayed. We didn't have to make any changes. So I went ahead and backfilled with the details and the phone number and all that, and whether or not I had to make a reservation to stay there, or if I could just drop in at any time. Again, check-in time is noon here, and I figure in order to get there, it's a 4.5 hour journey, so we're going to leave between 8 and 10. We don't have to leave at a really strict time for this one. So that is pretty much how I use our sheets. I wouldn't mind having a binder to put these in, or even a peachy would be just fine, and then pull out when I'm done with that night. The old date gets put away somewhere, and the one on the top is the next place we're going to stay. So that's how I do all the individual sheets, and I have, like, for this journey, I think there's 16 of them. We have a lot going on in the month of October, September, October, and it goes into November. So then I have a calendar. But before I work on the calendar, I go through and I handwrite out all of the different places, because this one is for summing up the price and seeing if there's any better options. So I go ahead and I log the city that we're leaving from, the name of the place we're going to, as well as its city, how long it's going to take, and how much it's going to cost. Along the left column, I put which membership we're using, and then I wrote in pencil on the far, far left these little dates, which correspond with my calendar, because I'm actually planning from the end of September all the way into mid-December. So, and I have my little secret codes. These secret codes aren't so secret. I have a reservation, a check mark that I actually confirmed, and the state we're going to be in. So that's how I handled this. And I have my calendar, I have my summary sheet to add up the totals of how much it's going to cost. I have my summary map that gives me the hours it's going to take and the miles. And then I have one sheet for each day that we move. That is how I plan my trips. Hopefully you find this helpful and can use some of it. If you get some fancy software or end up with a GPS, that's just going to make your trip all the smoother. But I think all of the details that you gather up front, the more you know ahead of time, the better, so you're not surprised. Okay, one last hard copy item I would like to discuss is the next exit book. If you haven't already experienced this, it's wonderful. I have used it pretty much since I started RVing. I believe we bought a used RV, and the person we bought it from actually gave us a fairly old copy of this. So we've been using it pretty much since 2004. So in this book, it has all of the major highways, state by state. It is going east to west. So for me, it's backwards to what I'm used to, but you know, you get used to it. You find your state, you find the highway that you're on. It does only handle major highways. And from there, as an RVer, I mostly look for red. And what I'm looking for with the red are places to fuel up. That's primarily what I use it for. It does give you rest areas in black text, and it gives you some extra shopping places. I mean, it has a whole list of all the different places you can eat, and Ace Hardware. It's all in black. The places where you can go that you could drive your RV in are in red. Interestingly enough, here's a Cracker Barrel written in red. Here's a Walmart. I see Walmart quite often. But what you're looking for fueling, and we always kind of pre-plan where we think we're going to fuel up so that we don't get stressed. A tip how we fuel up: we try to fuel up at half full. We don't want to get much below half. And so that's kind of my target when I'm looking for places to stop. There are symbols in red, N, S, W, and E. And what those indicate is what side of the highway you are going to exit off of. It's not what direction you're going, so it's a kind of a little bit non-intuitive in how it's used. So if I'm in Iowa, and I'm at exit 168, but if I'm going to get off and I'm going to be on the south side of the highway, I look at the S, I see there's a Love's, it has diesel. If I'm interested in grabbing any quick food, these food places they're referencing, Chester's and McDonald's, are food places that are in with the Love's fueling station. So that is the secret to how we plan our refueling, and we also do use this for looking for rest areas that we might want to stop and rest at. That concludes my hard copies, the hard copies section of my tutorial. Thanks for watching.